can I eat what you didn't finish?
It was supposed to be just another ordinary evening, until a tiny voice stopped a tired single father in his tracks. "Sir, can I eat what you didn't finish?" The little girl stood beside the restaurant's trash bin, clutching a torn backpack nearly as big as she was. Her eyes weren't begging for money. They weren't asking for pity. They were only searching for one forgotten meal. What happened after that simple question would change not only her life, but his forever. Before we begin, if stories about kindness, hope, and second chances touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video. It truly helps us bring more inspiring stories to you. And don't forget to comment below with your city and country. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Daniel Harper hadn't imagined life would look like this at 36. 5 years earlier, he'd been an engineer with a promising career, a loving wife, and dreams that stretched far beyond the city skyline. But life doesn't always ask permission before rewriting your future. His wife, Emily, had lost her battle with cancer when their son Noah was only 4 years old. Since then, every sunrise had begun with one purpose: to be enough for his little boy. Daniel worked double shifts as a delivery driver, skipped meals whenever money ran short, and smiled through exhaustion because Noah deserved a father who still believed tomorrow could be better. That evening, after delivering his final package, Daniel decided to spend the last $15 in his wallet on dinner for himself and Noah. It wasn't anything fancy, just burgers and fries at a small neighborhood diner, but Noah's laughter made it feel like a 5-star meal. Halfway through dinner, Noah became sleepy. "I'm full, Daddy." Daniel smiled. "You sure?" Noah nodded before resting his head on Daniel's shoulder. Daniel looked down at the untouched half of Noah's burger. He was about to ask for a takeout box. Then he heard it. "Sir, can I eat what you didn't finish?" Daniel turned. Standing a few feet away was a little girl, maybe 8 years old. Her shoes were falling apart. Her oversized hoodie had several stitched holes. Yet despite everything, she stood politely, almost apologetically. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I saw he wasn't eating anymore." Daniel felt something tighten inside his chest. "When was the last time you ate?" he asked gently. The girl lowered her eyes. "I don't remember." Daniel couldn't speak. Instead of handing her leftovers, he stood. "Come sit with us." The girl's eyes widened. "No. I can't." "You can." Moments later, a fresh meal sat in front of her. She stared at it as if it might disappear. "Is this really mine?" Daniel nodded. "Every bite." She didn't eat immediately. Instead, she quietly folded her hands. "Thank you, God." Only then did she begin. Not quickly. Not greedily. Carefully. As though every bite deserved gratitude. Daniel had never seen anyone treat food with so much respect. Noah watched her. Then smiled. "You can have my fries too." The girl smiled back for the first time. "My name is Lily." "I'm Noah." Daniel couldn't stop wondering. How does a little girl end up alone? After dinner, he asked where her parents were. Lily hesitated. "My mommy died." Daniel's heart sank. "And your dad?" She looked toward the street. "I don't know." She explained that after her mother's death, she'd been placed with relatives who eventually abandoned her. For weeks she'd survived by sleeping behind closed stores, collecting bottles, and hoping someone would leave food behind. Daniel called the police. Not because Lily had done anything wrong, but because no child should spend another night alone. Social workers arrived within the hour. Lily clung tightly to Daniel's sleeve. "Will I see you again?" Daniel swallowed hard. "I'll try." That night, after putting Noah to bed, Daniel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lily thanking God for a hamburger. The next morning, he contacted Child Protective Services. He learned Lily had entered emergency foster care. Something inside him refused to let the story end there. Over the next several weeks, Daniel visited regularly. Noah came every weekend. The three of them colored pictures, played board games, and laughed together. Slowly, Lily stopped flinching whenever adults raised their voices. She stopped hiding pieces of bread inside her pockets. She started smiling. One afternoon she quietly asked Daniel, "If people leave, is it because I'm bad?" Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart." "Then why?" "Because sometimes adults fail children." She hugged him so tightly that neither of them could let go. Months passed. Daniel began the long, complicated process of becoming Lily's foster parent. Many people questioned him. "You're already struggling. You barely have enough. Why take on another child?" Daniel always answered the same way. Because she needed someone. The paperwork seemed endless. Interviews. Home inspections. Financial reviews. There were moments Daniel thought he might be denied. But every obstacle reminded him why he couldn't quit. Finally. One rainy afternoon. The phone rang. "You've been approved." Daniel covered his face as tears streamed down. Noah jumped around the living room. "We're getting a sister." The day Lily moved in, she carried everything she owned inside one faded backpack. Daniel showed her room. Fresh paint. A warm blanket. A small bookshelf. Stuffed animals Noah had picked himself. Lily stood frozen. "This is all mine." Daniel smiled. "For as long as you want it to be." That night she slept with the bedroom light on. Weeks later. The light stayed off. Months later. Her laughter filled the house. She started school. Made friends. Learned piano. Discovered she loved drawing. Years slipped by. Daniel watched two children heal each other. Noah never called her foster sister. She was simply his sister. Then came the day Daniel would never forget. Lily graduated at the top of her high school class. As she walked across the stage, thousands applauded. But her eyes searched for only one face. Daniel. After the ceremony she handed him a folded letter. Inside it read, "The first time we met, I asked if I could eat what you didn't finish. You didn't give me leftovers. You gave me dignity. You gave me hope. You gave me a family. Thank you for seeing a little girl when the world only saw a homeless child. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no child ever feels invisible again." Years later. Lily became a social worker dedicated to helping homeless children. Every Friday evening, she visited local shelters carrying warm meals. Whenever a child apologized for being hungry, she smiled gently and said, "You never have to apologize for needing food." Because she remembered every single detail. One simple question beside a restaurant trash bin. One father who chose compassion over convenience. One meal that became the beginning of an entirely new life. Sometimes, changing the world doesn't begin with millions of dollars or extraordinary power. Sometimes, it begins by pulling out one more chair at the table. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that even the smallest act of kindness can transform a life, please subscribe to Kindness Universe 2. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope, compassion, and humanity. Thank you for watching, and may kindness always find its way back to you.